Hi ho, welcome to Big Sister. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, guys. Thank you so much for watching my channel. I am very, very happy to see the subscribers that I do have here. And guys, I just give my videos thumbs up and likes, and so that we get some circulation and some recognition. Other people will discover the channel. Thank you again. So guys, I want to talk with you all about the importance of following and believing what is before your eyes. Following the signs. Follow the clues. Don't ignore red flags. A lot of times the things that you will experience and the hardships that you go through, the setbacks that you go through, it can be because the obvious signs are ignored. People will always give you clues as to who they are. But the problem is, a lot of times, what are we going to do? We're going to rationalize it. We are going to make excuses for people. And a lot of times you doubt yourself. Even when the truth is right there in front of your face, you're going to, because of maybe the love you have for the person, how you care for the person, the level of loyalty and respect you may have for the individual, you may want to ignore what's before you, the obvious truth. Sometimes even in the face of a lie, people will still talk themselves out of the obvious because they just can't believe it. And then they finally get it. And normally they finally get it when things have gone too far, when the damage has already been done, when their credit has been messed up, when they have lost property, when they're lied on, when they're falsely accused of something, when their family have been split up. You finally realize this person was at the foundation of it all, but you didn't want to believe. We can save ourselves a lot of hardship by paying attention to what people do. Yes, we should have grace. Yes, we should understand that people can actually make mistakes. And sometimes people are just not in their best moods, and they can make a decision based on them not being in the best mood or misunderstanding something you have said. These are the things that this is the grace, the understanding we have to give to one another. But it's also, there's a fine line. You have to know the difference between when someone is genuinely a friend, or genuinely cares and loves you, but they just use poor judgment here or there. And when someone who you've talked to them about this thing, you have discussed it, you may have had countless conversations with them. And other times, whenever a person, here's the thing, when someone does something that can hurt you, harm you, cause you to lose your family, your job, do something to jeopardize your well-being, there's no explaining that. There's no, why did you try to cause me to lose my job? Why did you try to break up my marriage? Why did you try to turn my children against me? Why did you try to turn my family against me? This is a conversation that should never happen. Why did you leave me at the hospital? Why didn't you pick me up? Why did you not show up to, if you have someone that would normally, if you have children, pick up your children from daycare, why didn't you show up? Why didn't you pick them up? You understand? That conversation should never happen. Some conversations, guys, it should never happen. What it is, you need to learn the lesson. You need to learn the lesson. When you see a person is willing to do things that will hurt you, harm you physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, just mess up your well-being, when they get angry, they show you that. No discussion necessary. No explanation necessary. But people will ignore the obvious, regardless of how old you are. And especially when you're teens and stuff, it's going to be hard. Some of you are teens, you're young adults. We tend at that age to blow things off because you're not really thinking too much about it. You see it, but then you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And you move on because you're so resilient. But at the same time, you have to be careful because a lot of the people you entertain in your teens and your young adult life, you end up taking them into your life later on as you grow and you mature and you get a family, you have a business and you're trying to do things and you have the same this person who's passive aggressive or who is in stealth mode but destroying you, but they're pretending to be a friend. And unfortunately, there's a lot more people like that than genuine ones. So when you come across people who are genuine and who are kind, be kind to them. You know, don't take advantage of genuinely good people because they're hard to come by. Believe me. So pay attention to the signs. Don't ignore it. Don't make excuses for people's bad behavior. But the truth of the matter is, the reason why a lot of these things happen and these things go on is because people are so afraid to make a clean cut, or they're afraid of confrontation, if that's the word to use. They're afraid to face the truth, or they would rather, they're so invested in other people and the thought of them not being able to hang out with this person, they would rather take the abuse and sacrifice themselves just so that they can have a friend, just so they can have a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, be in a group. And so it's going to get down to personal courage. It's going to get down to, do you care about yourself? Do you respect you? Because if you don't, others will not do it. I had a friend that shared something with me. How do I put this? I'm trying to put this without disclosing too much, so I have to be very careful how I say this. But the person was hospitalized, and they had someone who they trusted to be their chaperone. So the person's hospitalized, they trusted this individual, had no reason to believe that the person would be anything but above board. So the person's there, had to stay in the hospital, and for the most part, they were unconscious. They were just knocked out from the procedure and all of that. They also at times had to do some, you know how you have to walk around a hospital. Sometimes they tell you to get up and walk around and everything. So the person's unconscious for the most part, and this person is there as their chaperone. Well, sometime later, the person realized, how they found out was they were somewhere they were at the house, and the person was there with them, and somehow the person who was chaperoning them had left their phone, but somehow the person just saw a glimpse of themselves on the person's phone. And so they picked up the phone and they looked at it, and they discovered that the person who had chaperoned them had taken all these pictures of them unconscious in the hospital. The person saw lots and lots of pictures of themselves unconscious, close-ups, distant. All these pictures is as if the individual stood over them and just took a bunch of pictures of them, frames and frames of pictures of them laying in the bed. The person said in some cases it almost looked like it was so shocking for them to see it because they looked like they were dead because they were unconscious. And the person had taken pictures from different angles of them in the hospital, unconscious. The person was frightened and was just scrolling to see all these pictures of themselves, to include when they had to take walks with the nurse. The person was behind them, taking shots of them walking with the nurse. But the ironic part was they never shared any of those pictures with the person. They never told the person they were taking pictures of them. And that's what shocked the individual. What was upon further scrutiny, the person had to now admit and think back of other strange going-ons around that. Now, they never said anything to the individual because they were waiting for the person to say something, and the person never shared one picture with them or said anything to them about it. So that was something in their mind that they knew and had to wonder what was that about, because they found it so frightening to discover over, I don't know how many pictures the person saw, but it was a lot. So what does that mean? What did, I know what my mindset was about it, what my thinking was and what I disclosed. But the thing that I want to tell you is, more than likely this individual had been doing things before, which the person begins to realize and shares. Little things, but because they trust them, they love them, they may have a deep connection where you would feel like, oh, they'll never do that. They now allow the person to be there in their most vulnerable state. And this is what the person did. Okay? Now, I would tell you, for me, if I was in that situation, I am not going to take pictures of someone. Even if you take a picture of a person, why would you do it? And if you do, you would share the picture with a person and be like, hey, you were asleep or whatever. You share the picture, because unless you have another intent, why would you take a picture of someone unconscious? Someone's asked me to be their chaperone. They're sleeping and I stay there because it was a private room, so it's easy to do, and take over 10 pictures, different angles of a person unconscious, walking around, trying to learn to walk, and you don't tell them about it. Something's not right about that. Those pictures were for that person, not for the patient. So me personally, there's no way I could do it. If I did it, there would have been a reason. Hey, I took a picture of you or whatever, and you let the person know, and you share the picture with the person. Hey, I took these pictures of you. But to take it and to keep it and to have it in your phone and not say anything to the other person, and there's so many of them, that right there, guys, is a red flag. And especially for the mere fact that they never said a word to the person. And it was not one picture, it was a lot of pictures. Now, what was at the root of that? Nobody knows. But that was odd. And so what you have to think of, guys, what would that mean for the individual that discovered that? Just what I said. It's discovery. You're seeing truth. And some of you guys, you may have uncovered some things. You realize that someone you trusted, they have some sort of morbid curiosity, or there's something that they've done and it's come out, but you still want to believe what you want to believe. And this is how a lot of people end up, in some cases, dead. In other cases, having their lives, their legacy, their names destroyed, relationships broken up. Why? Because you keep entertaining a person or individuals that are no good for you. Follow the signs, don't ignore them, and have the personal courage to distance yourself. Sometimes you don't need to tell the person. You don't need to confront people all the time. Some things are open for discussions, and other things, it's really, those things have been revealed to you, so you know. And you know that, and you just kind of set it down and say nothing. And then a lot of times a person will later on do something else, and you're going to be able to match it up to that thing that you knew they had done before. And that's your warning. And what you do, you slowly back up. Slowly distance yourself. And then shut the door. Because a lot of times you may be trying to hold on to something. You're trying to hold on to something that you believe, this hope, this dream you have, when the truth is in front of you. And you may entertain these individuals, entertain this person, and you know what ends up happening to you? You end up getting hurt. You end up being caught up in toxicity. You end up losing important things that you've worked hard for. You end up being falsely accused, jailed, imprisoned, losing your job, losing opportunities, getting pregnant, stuck, can't go anywhere now. And then you think, well, I'm pregnant now, might as well get married. And now you're trying to style up a 1-bedroom, no bathroom shack with no lights. Why? Completely change your destiny. So guys, something to think about. Believe me, you have to be your advocate. If you're not your advocate, if you're not your protector, if you're not willing to stand up for yourself, if you're not willing to care for yourself, nobody else is going to do it. And it is very important that you don't ignore the obvious warnings, 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 warnings. All right, guys, don't forget to like, share, and to subscribe. Bye.